Hi, guys. Welcome to Remember This. I'm your host, Denise Boland. I am so excited to have with me today my gold guy. I think everyone should have a gold guy. And this is my gold guy, Jim Carrillo from Swiss America. So, Jim, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me. I hope all is well with you and this crazy world we live in.
Absolutely. Yep. We're doing the best we can. Yep. It is getting crazy. It's almost unrecognizable, isn't it?
Yeah, the world's definitely upside down. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Everything's just absolutely crazy. You can't make sense of practically anything anymore. Those of us that have been around for a while, have to watch this madness that doesn't make sense at all. And I don't understand how it can make sense to even the younger generation. I know the ones that, my kids, my grandkids, they don't get it either. But somehow the agenda is being pushed.
Yeah. And you know what's something, if you think about it, there's more of us than them, but you just have to get everybody to say no more. We're not going to take this anymore. You still have people that are like, well, and just go with the flow. I know when I was a kid, I'm sure when you were a kid, we were taught to respect our elders. We were taught to, respect our government, but not when the government's doing nefarious things, not when there's corruption there. You know what I mean? So you
Corruption.
can't just blindly follow when
Yeah, the
you know that
corruption
they're taking us down the wrong path.
it really comes from the corporations. The corporations have bought out our political leaders, the banks, everything that's corrupt. It's exactly like Thomas Jefferson said: if you allow the corporations to take hold, you're going to end up with corruption, and that's exactly where we are today. I mean, if you look at the pharmaceutical industry, if you look at all the ads on TV, a lot of them are these crazy drugs and everything. They don't want to offend their sponsors because that's where they make their money on TV. So that's what gets pushed. And then the same is true with, all of our political leaders. It's so obvious that they're bought off because they say one thing and then all of a sudden they change because their money people say, well, we're going to stop giving you more money. And it really is a corrupt system. And we've
Absolutely.
allowed that to take hold.
And it's in the banking system, it's in Hollywood, the music, and it's all across the board. We are being controlled by the global elitists. Yes.
Exactly. But yeah, there's not, all we can do is pray about it and move on. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's hard to fight, this corruption. I mean, you've got so much of America behind Trump, regardless of how you feel about him, his business model worked. And that's the problem that we have with this model. It does not work. This president's model is absolutely killing us. And I don't know that that's not being done by design because, this country, unfortunately, is bankrupt. We have so much debt that they can't afford to pay. We've got open borders, and I believe that that's because they're trying to, incentivize not having children here in this country, but we need more people in order to pay more taxes in order to keep the system going. So they're bringing in all these people that cost us money in the short term. They're looking further ahead. There are more votes for them.
That's
you
right.
know
That's all they are. They're votes.
yeah,
They're guaranteed votes. That's all they are.
absolutely they are.
Yeah. But I don't know if they brought in enough that's going to be, you know, conservatives votes. You
Well,
know,
shouldn't be allowed to vote. They're not citizens.
it's insane. Try going to any country and getting the red carpet rolled out for you like they're doing for them here.
Oh
It's
yeah.
insane. And if I was someone that was trying to come in legally, I'd be pissed off. If
Oh,
I'm waiting
absolutely.
years to become a citizen and they're just coming right past in front of me,
That's 110% accurate because everybody I know that's come into this country, and I know people that have come into this country legally, and they are pissed off. They're not happy about it at all.
No, no. But you hit it right on the head, Jim. It is by design. It's to destroy our country and to make us defenseless. They want to take our guns and they want to bring in the New World Order. We know that. We know that that's their plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Yeah, this whole thing, Jamie Dimon was just talking on Monday about our global leadership being challenged by developing countries, including, some groups out there. He's the CEO of JP Morgan. And he said, well, BRICS and other countries are looking to uproot the US dollar, that our electorate in America is causing further division, among, he's right. I mean, he called the development the Great Crisis, and it threatens our Western enterprise, so it's something that we really do need to be aware of, what's going on financially. The BRICS countries are a great threat to us, and most people don't even, the majority of people don't even understand BRICS, don't know what BRICS is. They don't understand that we're being challenged financially, and that's a huge, huge problem.
Now, do you see the BRICS, the forming of the BRICS, and you see more nations joining them?
There's 34 countries right now that are trying to get into BRICS. As it stands right now, I mean, it's like the who's who of countries that dislike us and want us destroyed. Brazil, look what's happening there right now. Russia,
yeah.
China, South Africa,
yeah.
India is in there, which, right now, I think they're trying to be good to us because we're expanding their economy, but that's what we did with China, and look at what they're doing to us backdoor.
Right.
And then just recently they added Egypt, Iran, and all of the UAE, the United Arab Emirates.
Right.
So, when you've got all those countries and they're trying to develop their own currency. Well, it's no big secret that, it's not people like you and I that are rushing out to buy gold. As a matter of fact, a lot of people have been sitting on their hands while they had a good opportunity to accumulate over a period of time. And what's happening is you got all these countries, central banks, buying gold to back a new currency to go against the US dollar. And now all of a sudden we're starting to see gold prices rise again, and they're going to continue to rise.
Yeah, absolutely. I was looking at a video that I actually wanted to show you real quick.
Sure.
And here, let's pull this down. Because I remember you guys back in the 80s. I remember Pat Boone doing the Swiss America commercials, right?
Yep.
Imagine the shock of reading tomorrow's newspaper and discovering the price of gold has doubled to over $1,000 an ounce. Sound impossible? Well, it's not, and here's why. Right now, every country in the world is competing to lower the value of their paper currencies, leaving gold as the only real money of lasting value. Experts say gold prices would need to rise above $2,000 an ounce to offset the falling value of the US dollar since 1980. So, at today's price, gold is still a great value, but not forever. I think it's time you discover the truth about gold before the price hits 4 digits. And I recommend calling my good friends at Swiss America to get educated first. Yep, gold now rules the financial world. You better call now for your free copy of The Rule of Gold, and you can tell them Pat Boone suggested you call.
I
love it.
That commercial came out actually in mid 2000s,
Yeah.
5, because after 9/11, we watched the amount of money that was being printed in the country and how eventually it'll work its way into circulation. And that's why we saw that gold prices were going to rise into the 4 digits, which they obviously did. And then 2000, which he mentioned as well, which we've now, here we are. The problem is we've continued to accelerate money growth. And the targets these days are unthinkable numbers, for gold, somewhere in the $12,000 to $13,000 range.
Wow.
Ultimately, we're talking a decade from now, probably. But in the near term, you've got very major players in the industry, including myself, that see gold at $3,000 to $5,000 fairly soon.
Yeah.
It's sad because that means your buying power of your dollar is going to continue to erode.
Right.
Saving with things like gold and silver rather than bank accounts and CDs and traditional things that have always been good, treasury bonds, treasury, bills, things of that nature. Although they're deemed to be safe, how safe are they when your government's bankrupt and having to print money out of thin air in order to just keep afloat?
Right. And and for those that don't know, our dollars were backed by gold until they took us off, right? And so they took us off the gold standard. So basically it's paper.
Yeah. Gold. Well, our forefathers came to this country and swore that every single dollar would always be backed by gold and silver. Because without it, you basically turn into a credit society, which we did. Nixon took us off of the gold standard in the 1970s. And when he did that, we were a cash flush nation. Everybody trusted us. And so we just continued to move forward. And then we started getting into credit society. My parents, your parents, and their parents, if you borrowed money, it was bad. You were looked down on if you had to borrow money. They bought their cars with cash. They bought
I
their
remember.
houses
You're
with
right.
cash, saved, and then once you got credit, what ended up happening is you started becoming enslaved by the banks. And that's where we are today, to a level that is incomprehensible, really. Our kids, the kids, I don't know how, I understand why there's so much animosity with Gen Z and the young kids, because it's not, the banks have done this to them and to us. And they can't go out and buy a house unless parents are well off and can give them 20% down, because how many kids have $100,000 laying around to put down on a house?
I know. It's very, and kids are living at home longer.
Oh yeah.
Because they can't even afford an apartment.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like some societies outside of America, where the families all just live together under one roof. And that's where we're going, because that's what they want.
Yeah. Unless things turn around. That's where prayer comes in.
Oh, amen.
My goodness. But so you're not alone with that, because I think it just came out today. Citigroup analysts are predicting it to reach 3,000. The gold's going to reach 3,000 between 6 and 18 months. Goldman Sachs is saying 2,700 is close, into 2024. So, my podcast is to bring hope, because it is a scary time right now. And I just want people to just take a deep breath, and it's okay. God's got this, but I also like to share practical things that we can do, to protect ourselves, protect our assets. That's why I have you on. And so, yeah, if you just want to share a little bit, because I learned a lot from you, but you can say it a lot better than me. We talked about the bullion, and back in the day, they were confiscating gold. You know the history of it. But do you remember what we talked about? They don't come after the bullion, or am I saying it backwards?
There's just different aspects, different ways. There's nothing wrong with bullion.
No, it's a good thing.
I don't know that they'll ever confiscate it again, but I can't say that they won't. So there's other avenues too, like semi-numismatic coins, which are older coins that are close to the price of bullion, that have no confiscation laws attached to them, because their valuations are all over the board, so they just leave it alone. So a lot of people like that. So just the privacy aspect. It's not reportable. So when you sell it, there's no 1099 on the back end, not telling you to cheat on your taxes, but there is no government reporting requirement by law. So you're not going to get a 1099. So a lot of people like that privacy aspect of it. As far as the difference between the two, I always just diversify, spread the money out, gold, silver. I think silver is a tremendous value right now. Really a tremendous value. I think it's it could double from where it stands today in a heartbeat, like almost overnight.
Quickly, right.
And that's typically what happens. Gold leads, and then, you know, gold's $2,400 an ounce basically right now. So it's up 15% just this year alone, and it's only April. Silver's up 18% this year. So it's outpacing it, but it's only $28. So people can afford to buy silver in quantity, gold maybe not so much.
Right.
But you can protect your 401k, you can protect your IRA by putting a percentage of it into gold and silver that's always going to be there, that cannot go bankrupt like stocks can, like, you know, our government can, like our dollar can. It just makes sense. And, you know, I sleep well at night knowing that I have my, you know, some protection there. And that's really what this is about. You know, you can't worry about this stuff.
Right.
You know, biblically, as you mentioned earlier, we're not to worry. We're to just be protective of what we have. And owning a dollar bill that is backed by the full faith and credit of a government that I don't have faith in, and their credits run amok, is foolish to me, to trust that only.
So what do you see a reset coming? Do you see like where the dollar is just going to cease to exist?
That's a long conversation.
I have some time. How
That
about a
is,
summary?
well, in summary, yes, I do. It's inevitable, you know, that it's going to go by the wayside. And, you know, I don't know if it's going to be digital currencies, which I don't trust at all.
No.
Because, you know, our grids around this country are not all that great to begin with. And to have all of my assets tied up on electronic vehicles, you know, does not make sense at all. I always like to keep some cash on hand.
Yeah.
Definitely gold and silver are vital importance, but you know, you got to have money in the bank. You got to be able to pay bills. You got to be able to,
Right.
you know, so just, I can't worry about that. All I do is it's obvious. All you got to do is read, you know, some of the biggest financial, you know, experts in the world all see it coming. Nobody can disagree with it. You know, I am one of those people too that have information from the NSA from back in the 90s on digital currencies. There's a article in that there's an article in MIT's research reports from, it was called Cryptology, How to Make a Mint. And it absolutely describes Bitcoin and everything. I'm not convinced, in short, that Bitcoin and all these cryptocurrencies are nothing but beta tests, because you couldn't get people to buy these currencies without it being a get rich quick scheme. And so people get it, go in there, and what they're doing is they're dissecting the data. And if you notice now, you've got governments all of a sudden, we're making the currency now. You know, we're going to do one, and the SEC is coming out and saying, well, we feel like this isn't good. But I just want to know when it was okay to compete with central banks. When was it ever okay to create Jim coin? Can I make a currency? I'd end up in jail faster than,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
as would anybody. But all of a sudden, these cryptocurrencies are okay. So
And people are making money on them.
yeah,
That's the thing. Yeah.
yeah. So
And it's not anything that's tangible. It's not a physical, you can't hold it in your hand.
No, well, you know, you and I mean, if they just came out and said, hey, can you test this invisible currency for us, and we're going to try to come out and get rid of the dollars that you hold in your hand, nobody would do that. So by doing it this way, they've had 10 years to work the bugs out, so to speak. And now they're going to come out with their own central bank currencies, these CD CBD currencies.
Right, where they can spy on us
Yes.
and they can track how we're spending our money, and they can shut down our bank accounts if they want, or stop the flow of cash. Yeah.
So, in short, it's just, I wouldn't recommend it to my clients. I tell them, if you've got a little bit of risk capital, and you want to own some digital currencies, go for it, but I wouldn't. My son lost a bunch of money in it. I have a client that sent a large amount of money to a scam company that he thought
Oh,
was
that's not good.
and yeah, it's just not pretty.
I know Bitcoin was actually started to get away from the control of the government. The government has no control over it.
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
I don't know that that's necessarily true, but you
Oh.
never know. I think they have the ability to shut it off.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
back to tangible assets. I just think that having something in your hand is worth more than having a digital currency behind a computer.
So for the viewers, if they want to take that first step, they would contact you, and can you just take them through a little process of
what they can contact me at 877-703-2193. I can send them free information. If they'd like, I can get them a free newsletter that they can subscribe to and get a copy of it once a month, either digitally or by mail, whichever they prefer. And it's free copy. We've also got a report out that you've probably heard of. It's been out for a while, but we update it all the time. It's called The Secret War on Cash. And it talks about some of the things that we're talking about right now, and how there is a war on cash and cash products, and how they literally, if you haven't noticed, the banks are required now to spy on you.
Yes.
If you try to take out a certain amount of money, they tell you, you can't, or what's it for?
Right.
I'll write you a cashier's check. No, I want cash. Well, it's my cash, not yours, and they act like it's their cash. Also, one of the things a lot of people don't know is that on Dodd-Frank, when that was passed during the last financial crisis, the biggest thing was that your deposits are now considered the bank's money, not yours. That's why that all happened. So you're considered an investor with that bank now, not technically a depositor like we used to be.
Wow.
So,
and that's in fact what they do. They take our money and they invest it.
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 21 times.
Making a fortune off of us.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah.
So, and then they pay us nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to get a hold of me, I can get you out free information. I've got information on retirement accounts. If people are interested in protecting a portion of their retirement accounts, I think it's vital that you have some form of physical asset in your retirement.
And I did that. Remember, we
Yes.
moved my IRA over, to a gold IRA account. Yeah.
Then physical metal can be delivered to you. I can also help people set up storage accounts if they want. If they don't want it physically in their hands, they can open a storage account outside of that near their hometown. So yeah, give me a call at 877-703-2193, and I'll be happy to help you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Do you have any final words for the viewers?
Yeah, don't worry about that. The peace of mind that you will get with owning some hard assets in your portfolio is well worth it. Because I know people that I talk to are worried about, it's almost like they're frozen. They don't know what to do. And, that's not a good place to be. If you're worried about a stock market crash, which you're hearing about all the time because it's being propped up and funny money pumped into the market, and that's your retirement. When, I'll leave you on this note. When gold goes up against the stock market and crashes, it's a beautiful thing. because when the stock market collapsed by 60% in the financial crisis at the end of in 2009, 2008, 2009, 2010, gold went up 120% against that. So having that balance, clients were ecstatic because, they lost 60% here, but they gained 120% here. So that's it. Again, 877-703-2193. I'll send you out a free newsletter.
Thanks, Jim.
You're welcome.
Okay, Jim, we have a guest, someone who wants to say hello to you. You've been watching him with me do some podcasts. John Dowling is here. Let's welcome him to the show. Let's see. There he is. Hey, John.
Denise Boland, how are you?
I am doing very well. How are you? Welcome.
Good. I'm waiting for my thing to come on here. Sorry about that. There we go.
Okay. John, this is Jim Carrillo.
Hey,
Yes,
John,
sir.
how are you?
I'm well. How are you? Thanks for
I'm
having me.
good.
Yeah, Jim saw some of our podcasts that we've done, and
Okay.
yeah, we talked a little bit about the bricks, and he was explaining to the viewers, about gold, the importance of having gold and silver in your portfolio.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's always good to have a percentage. Just spread it out.
Yeah, diversification is the key. Denise and I have talked about that, as you know, for years. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how are you doing?
I'm well. Thanks for asking. How about you? How about yourself?
I can't complain. I mean, I could, but you don't want to hear it.
Yeah, that's a good classic line. I like that. Where are you based out of?
Dallas, Texas.
Ah,
Nice.
Our headquarters is out of Phoenix, Scottsdale.
mm-hmm.
So that's where I came from.
Nice.
Opened
That's
an office out here in Dallas.
cool. Buddy of mine's in Scottsdale, so I know that area pretty well. That's good.
He's in
Well,
a
you-
nice red state.
Yes. Yeah, you're in the good place. We're working to get where you are, moving to Tennessee later this year. So
Oh, nice.
improve the position with that.
Okay. Where are you now?
California, unfortunately.
Okay. What part?
We're in like the two.
You got both ends of the spectrum between.
Yeah, I
me
was
and
gonna
me.
say.
What
I'm
part
in,
of California?
I'm in Redondo Beach.
Oh,
which
okay.
is just outside of
I'm
LA.
originally from Orange County. I'm originally from Orange County.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what part?
North Tustin.
Yeah. I have some family that
Foothills.
lives in Tustin. Yep.
Yeah, the Foothills area, and my offices were in Newport Beach down.
You're like 45 minutes from me, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah. Not too
my
bad.
offices were down in Newport Beach and Fashion Island.
Okay. Sure. Do you remember a place called Ceciban, the pastry place?
Yeah,
I used to love that place.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah,
They make these croissants, Denise. They're chocolate. They're the French bakery from the 70s. They're phenomenal.
Oh my God, you got me on chocolate. You had me at chocolate. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
to all of us.
absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah. So things are looking a little scary, but they're also looking up if we know where to look. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah,
At this point, yeah.
you can't run scared in the markets. I think, if you're just
Right.
diversified, I mean, I've been preaching it for 40 years. I mean, just stay diversified. And at times you gotta have more of one thing than another. I mean,
Mhm.
right now it's, with all the debt in this country, you're nuts to have all your eggs in one basket. And, I don't trust bonds or bills anymore like I used to. I used to be a senior bond trader
Mhm.
in Chicago for years, out of Newport Beach, but our headquarters was out of Chicago. And that ship has sailed, in my opinion. You got bankrupt governments that are backing, debt. So you're buying debt. You're buying the debt of the debtor.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
That could go away anytime with what's going on with BRICS. I understand you're a proponent of BRICS, and I understand that. But for our dollar, it may not end up being so well,
No.
because you're going to have less demand.
Well, but what's backing the dollar, right?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
military, it's no metals. So I have to.
Of a government.
Well, I'm betting against the deep state
Exactly.
is what I'm betting against.
Yep.
More than the sovereignty or nationalism, as Denise knows the U.S., but more of de-dollarization of taking our foot off the throat of these other countries. Because I don't know if you've seen, but I interview people all the time, like Bill Holter. I just had Andy Schechtman on last week. I'm going to have Lynette Zhang on next month. They're all saying the same stuff that you've been saying for, as you said, decades. It was for this appointed time. So I'm with you. Like, we need to have faith over fear. As long as we're strategic and diverse and we're putting into physical things we can touch, we're in a good position.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, physical, tangible assets.
Yeah. And for those that say I can't afford gold, like you said, silver is very affordable.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
most people can't afford it. They just don't want to afford it. It's scary to them because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you feel about, as far as you're talking about diversification? I talk about this with Denise all the time. Like you said, it's a mindset. You have to get over the mindset of what you don't understand and empower it with knowledge. But in terms of not just silver, what about copper, rhodium, platinum, other things where they can diversify?
Well, the problem with, you can get those. The spreads on some of them are atrocious, like rhodium and, palladium.
Palladium, yeah.
And, they're difficult to sell. From a tangible aspect, copper's impossible. It's sold in, 50,000
Iris.
car, it's basically a train car load.
Yeah.
Train car in your backyard. It's a lot of storage. Even silvers, can be cumbersome to store in any quantity.
Sure.
What I always tell people is you can keep nowadays even more, probably about $300,000 worth of gold will fit in a shoebox. So it doesn't take a lot of storage space.
That's true.
So, but yeah, I like all of what you brought up, but you got to do those through contracts. Not physically owning it in your own hands. Platinum I like, but platinum at its day, platinum was primarily used as a catalyst. And with electronic vehicles coming up, I made a lot of money in platinum back in the day. I used to tell clients, China is like a locust infestation. When they were riding bikes in Tiananmen Square, and now they're going out and buying automobiles. And so catalytic converters were killing the platinum market. And I mean, it ran from $150 to $2,000. And now the demand is diminishing with the electronic vehicles. But I don't know. It's still a good asset to have, and it's cheap now. I mean, it's below $1,000.
Yeah.
Palladium's wild. It swings all over the place.
Yeah, fluctuates a lot. Yeah.
As does rhodium.
Indeed.
Rhodium's good in wars, though.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
So what does it look like? Take us into a little peek into the future. Like what do you think it's going to look like when the dollar is just gone? And I mean, how do we go to the store? Are we going to go to the store with our gold, with our silver? And I mean, how is that going to work?
No.
We're going to go to the banks and cash in our gold and silver? I mean,
central banks know what they're doing. It's not going to just disappear. If they take us off the dollar, it's going to probably be a digital currency, unfortunately, in my opinion. I don't know if you saw what I was talking about during her show, John, but if you do enough deep digging into the currency, the digital currencies, there's a paper on MIT's web servers that's called "How to Make a Mint: The Cryptology of Making Money," and it was written way back in the 90s, and they were talking about how with computers now we can eliminate currencies and do things digitally, and it really described what today is now as Bitcoin. And I started thinking about it, and I was going, well, when in time, and this is years back, when in time has it ever been okay to compete with central banks? It never has. But all of a sudden, these digital currencies come out, and it's all of a sudden it's okay. And long story short, if you wanted to get rid of the dollar and you wanted to make it digital, how could you do it? How would you beta test that? The public's not going to be behind the government coming out with a, digital currency that, and getting rid of your dollar bills. They're not. But if you make it a get rich quick scheme, or almost like a Ponzi type scheme, and I'm not sure that that's what it is, but my mind thinks this way because I'm trying to figure out why it's okay to compete with the dollar. And then finding that paper on MIT's web server that was from the NSA.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I can forward that to anybody that wants to read it. It's fascinating. But if you make it a get rich quick scheme, you get all these people in there, you can beta test it now and find the bugs. And then all of a sudden now the central banks are starting to say, oh, well, we're going to come out with ours. And the SEC is back there going, well, we're still not sold on cryptocurrencies, and they may be illegal. So if they make the cryptocurrencies illegal, come out with this, with a government-backed CDC. So you get where I'm going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. It's just like when they came out in 2020, that was a test to see how many people would comply.
Yep. But, going back to what you were saying, from a faith standpoint, we're not to be fearful of any of this. You just have to protect as best you can. You can't let, you're going to do nothing good if you do it out of fear.
Right.
Good point.
That is a good point.
I think it's important to denote everything that you said so cogently that my mind thinks of it in two different ways, right? Because I don't know if you've seen our shows. There's the worldly reset and there's the godly reset, right? And I'm on the side of the godly reset where we have physical assets, obviously precious metals, using the foreign currencies to convert those into physical assets, land, weapons, if you like, heirloom seeds, grow, be self-sufficient. Because like you said, I think we're gonna get a grace period here, whatever that is, 5, 10, nobody knows. I'm just, using a baseline.
Yeah.
I think it's about 6 to 7 years. I believe in the Joseph prophecy of 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine, right? That's where my mindset, as Denise knows, is geared, and where I bring my followers to that mindset or that way of positioning. But I think the bad guys are always going to be there. We're just going to be able to, get rid of the central bank. Trump is the third person to get rid of it. Before that was Andrew Jackson, right? All this. Not everybody does, but you do. And so I think we're going to have a grace period, but I think the deep state is going to continue to come, and they're going to push that Agenda 2030. They're going to try to push the digital CBDCs. And if you don't have those physical assets, you're now in a compromised position where you may have to put yourself in an uncomfortable position. You don't need to if you just prepared consistently along the way, which I'm sure you've instructed your clients to do. I'm sure you want to spend the whole farm today, but if you, it's micro fractions of activity bring about the preservation component. So.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly correct.
Yeah. I think we're all on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at it from, a faith standpoint, I think that's your best angle, that always is, and, biblically, what I tell my clients too, that don't understand it, that hopefully helps some people understand it. Like I said, most people are frozen, but, you're not supposed to put yourself in debt.
Right.
You're not supposed to, if you lend money to somebody that's deeply in debt, are you expecting to ever get that money back?
No.
Okay. So you've got a government that is in debt to the tune of $34 trillion, which is an incomprehensible number. And yet we're trusting them to pay us back the money that we get from them, the dollar bills. It just makes there's no biblical sense to it at all.
No.
From gold and silver standpoint, it has no debt, it has no liability, it has no counterparty risk. And that's important. You know, it can be converted into anything. So answering your question maybe a little bit earlier, Denise, about if the currency goes away, gold and silver can be converted back into any currency. Look at what happened when the Soviet Union collapsed. You know, the ruble went away, but those people that had gold and silver were able to convert it into any currency anywhere in the world, and also back into the ruble when it was reissued. You know, the people in Cyprus, you know, when they devalued the currency basically to 13 cents on the dollar. If you had that currency, you got wiped out, basically. You lost 87% of your wealth. Your gold and silver didn't lose that value. You could convert it into a currency, you maintained that wealth. You know, so people that had oil or gold, silver in any collapsing country have always come out ahead of the people that had nothing.
Right.
Currency.
Yeah. And it's God's money, right? It says gold and silver are mine. So you can't go wrong with that. But they've suppressed it. They've suppressed it for so long.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so a lot of people would never even think of investing because they're like, well, you know, it's not going to grow. It's never going to grow. I'm not going to really get anything out of it. But that's all changing.
Yeah, everybody's looking for the get rich quick scheme, which doesn't exist. If it does, you're usually going to get burned.
That's right. Absolutely right. Slow and steady wins the race.
Right.
And to your point, actually, you made some good follow-up points. I just interviewed, well, I've interviewed him a few times now, but Bill Holter, you know, I'm sure you're familiar with him. And he's a, you know, like you, big, you know, he was a broker, very similar background, complementary to you. He was talking about the true rate of debt is very different, as you know, than what they report. They report 34 trillion, and now you're seeing it's, you know, moving up $1 trillion every 90 days plus, because you know the dollar's at the end of its life cycle. That's how you know a central bank and a currency is pretty much dead, when it just continually matriculates like that. But he was saying, I asked him what he thought gold and silver's true value would be. He said, well, depends mathematically. If you were to use gold and silver as God's money correctly, biblically, and constitutionally, which our forefathers, as you know, you both know, created, the true value of gold and silver he thought would be in the upper six-figure range to pay off the debt, which he's estimating closer to be 250 to 300 trillion, which is 10 times worse than what they're actually reporting. We know they're always lying to us.
Yeah.
So I said, well, are they going to do that? He said, no, they're most likely just going to default. So I guess I'd like to hear your opinion on when the banks and the whole system defaults. That would be its own reset, right? As far as the debt goes, in terms of mortgages and credit cards and everything else. How do you see that standpoint?
It's so difficult because you know, like I said, the central banks, they've got this all planned. You know, this is not going to be a shock to them. It'll be a shock to us. And how they work their way through that is anybody's guess. That's like saying, when's price coming? I don't know.
Right.
You know, anybody that tries to answer that question, I think that during the show with Denise, she asked me a question, and I said that I think that gold and silver ultimately over the next decade or so, probably going to go into the $10,000 to $12,000 range. You know, it is. JP Morgan has paid out billions of dollars in fines for manipulating gold just over the last decade. They're suppressing the price of gold artificially, and they keep getting caught, and they keep paying monstrous fines.
Right.
And people are going to prison for it. And they're saying, oh, it wasn't us, it was him. Yeah. On your trade desk, you don't know what your traders are doing. You don't know that they're doing billions and billions of dollars worth of, you know, contracts to suppress the price of something. Sure, I believe that. I'm from the brokerage industry. You know, you have a compliance department, I hope.
Correct.
So I don't know. I can't answer that question, to be honest with you. You know, I know it's going to be, when they do the reset, it's going to usher in the new, you know, panic where they can get away with anything. They get people to swallow things that they wouldn't take. You know, you go to 9/11, you know, we gave away so many so much of our freedom.
That's right.
And then the last financial crisis, you know, the people they rewarded were the people
Exactly.
that did everything wrong.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They
And
bailed
that's
them
the
all
same
out.
thing they're doing with the borders. You know, they're rewarding people that did everything wrong,
Right.
giving them free money, giving them housing, you know, giving them, you know, what California is doing, you know, telling them, oh, we'll give you the 20% down to buy a house.
Mhm. Right. They think they're going to get the vote at the end of it, but they're going to find out it's not going to work out the way they thought.
Absolutely.
With all the homeless there. That's disgraceful.
Well, yeah, the homeless are veterans and are citizens,
Hmm. Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
Yeah, it's hard to swallow. I think a lot of it too, you know, unfortunately, you know, we've got a lot of nefarious players out there, you know, that want lower populations.
Mhm.
And one of the things I always tell people when they get angry, I said, you know, you're shortening your life. You know, the more anger you have in your life, your lifespan shortens. And there's a lot of seniors out there, me and older, that get
Yeah,
angry at what's going on. And that shortens your life. It does. You know,
Yeah.
stress shortens your life.
This is like such a confirmation. I had a conversation with a friend of mine before, and that's exactly what we were talking about. Don't stress. In fact, I told my daughter she was stressing over what college she's going to. Don't stress. Don't stress. And my friend today said, yeah, it shortens your life.
It does.
And it really does. I know it causes a lot of physical ailments too.
They can't afford us. You know, we've got, going back to what you were talking about, John, you know, think about all the unfunded liabilities coming up. There's not enough kids coming, you know, that we're not having, our kids aren't having kids like we had kids and our parents had kids. So who's paying for our Social Security? They're just gonna have to keep printing money or they're gonna have to wipe it out. And if they can kill off a lot of the elderly people by, you know, coming up with 18 more genders and, you know, open borders and, you know, thugs running through the street. Yeah, it just, none of it makes sense. So that's my theory on that.
And think about that. Like we couldn't even go into, people couldn't go to work without getting this. You know, they had to lose their jobs.
Mhm.
And they're coming in with, what do they have? I'm hearing malaria, you know, smallpox. They're bringing all kinds of stuff in.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's so blatant that people have to wake up and see this.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand who the 50% is that's on the other side. Truthfully, I just don't get it. You know?
Yeah. I don't know.
The one thing I always tell Denise, and I'm sure you would concur, good sir, is that there's more of us than them. And the one thing we all have in common as Americans, regardless of, and X22 says this all the time, it doesn't matter the external age, gender, how much money you make, how tall you are, any of that stuff. If you can't pay your bills and you can't sustain, none of that other stuff matters. All that divisionistic tactics they want to use go out the window. And I'm an optimist, but I believe that this godly reset, to what you were saying earlier, when we have all these things, we will be the light in the darkness as we are blessed financially to help the whole of society, the homeless, the vets, the needy, the hungry, the poor, the orphans, the widows. I take that stuff very seriously. In fact, I have a plan with some of the, not the bonds you're talking about, the US bonds, but some exotic bonds that I have, to use that as a sort of a you could call it what you want, charity, you could call it humanitarian, I call it kingdom work, but it's a repatriation fund that I have, that I've been building a list the last couple of years of people that have been on my heart. And what was interesting is I heard the Holy Spirit say to me about a year ago, I was just, you know, I was re-editing and revising the list, you know, and right-sizing it as you normally you do with your clients. And I heard the Holy Spirit say, you know, you're helping 4 widows. I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, look at the list. And I look, I'm just see people. She goes, no, you're helping widows. And I look at it, I was like, wow, okay. I didn't even think of it that way. It's just, you know, God honors the heart. So I think God always has a counter, as you know, a counteractive move to whatever they're going to try. God's going to protect his people and put us in this position to financially counteract what the enemy has. he's always got a plan to the plan. And central banks can try what they want, but they're going to be dismantled for a time. And then that's that grace period I think we have as Americans and as people of the world. What are we going to do at that time? Do we use it well? Did we use it to help each other, or did we use it to finance our own self-interest? There's nothing wrong, obviously, with taking care of yourself. You have to do that before you help anybody else. But if that's where the seed lies, then it was worthless fruit, right? So
Yeah, you have to be good stewards.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, that's 100%. You know, and it's not a big secret that the evil one is running this world right now. I mean, it's in our face.
Yeah.
Anybody that's of faith, you can see it as plain as the nose on your face. You know, it's just so obvious.
Yeah.
We talk about that all the time.
Yeah. He's being exposed. His works are being exposed because, you know, he's been running things all along. It just wasn't obvious, right? When we were growing up, it wasn't obvious. It wasn't so in your face. You know, now, I mean, they're out, they're proud. Let me share this with you. This is very interesting. I had Pastor Craig Hagan on my show from Rhema Bible College. And as soon as he came on, he's holding up this postcard and it looks like a flag, only it's black and white. And he goes, I just wanted to tell you, I got a postcard from Satan. I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah. He goes, obviously, I know it wasn't from Satan, but it's definitely from a Satanist. And he's reading this card and it's saying, Dear Craig. And he goes, the devil called me dear. It said, Dear Craig, how do you say it? Our servants in government are well aware of your plan to bring back Donald Trump, but that is going to fail. We will have your children will commit to our way. And it's going on and on and on, blatantly about their agenda to destroy us, to get our children. And I had the 666 and everything. And I was like, I'm so glad that they exposed themselves like that, because everyday people don't realize these people in government are Satanists. Hello, Luciferians, whatever you want to call them, you know? And so he is in control. He's been in control as far as, you know, this world, but now God is allowing all of his dark deeds to be exposed to wake us up.
Well, between now and the election, it's going to be one of the biggest, excuse my French, shit shows that we'll ever see.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Huh?
Well, Biden's going to try to is he going to try to fix the economy in time for election? Only to let it.
I don't even think he's going to be the guy that runs. I really don't. They're going to put somebody else in there at the last minute.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that. Yeah.
He can't run. He's not going to win an election. And I also fear for Donald Trump. You know, I do. I pray for our leaders. I pray for Joe Biden. You know, I feel sorry for him. I don't think he's a shell of himself. I can't believe that his wife would put him through that or let him even do what he's doing.
Yeah.
They're just evil, pure evil.
Well, Jim, most people don't even believe that's him. So that's a whole other episode. Okay. Yeah. But yeah.
Every time I see him.
Yeah. If you ever look at the side-by-side, and not even to look at the side-by-side pictures, but if you ever look at videos of him just from maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, even the voice is different. You can see it's a totally different person.
I can't go there.
It's okay.
We just did, so you don't have to.
What's that?
We did, so you didn't.
We did it. Yeah.
I know. I see it too. But yeah, we've got actors.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But, I mean, if you're going to act, why wouldn't you get somebody that's got a brain? I mean,
they're running out of money.
The guy. Why not?
They're running out of money.
Up there.
And you know what really convinced me? You put an 80-year-old person on a bicycle and have them fall and not break a hip. Come on now. Mm-hmm. How fast did he bounce up after falling off a bike?
Yeah.
Right?
Why are they making him senile?
Yeah. Is that?
That's the part that doesn't, you know, that's the part that I don't get. I mean, if you're going to replace the guy, you know,
Right. That's a good question.
That's not, yeah, Satan's going to be beautiful. Everybody will love him.
Yeah.
I mean, I pray for President Trump like you both do as well, obviously, but I actually think all of this persecution on him is actually working to his advantage because he's engendering, Denise, who's in your backyard in Bodega, the Bronx there, or Harlem, I should say, and he's engendering, love in the court of public opinion from all different walks of life. It's actually, I think it's making him stronger, just like it did with Christ. The more they rejected him, the more it strengthened his message and people received it. And I think in a way that's going to work to his benefit.
Yeah. I think you meant like protection, right? You fear for his protection. Is that what you meant? I feel like Trump has like a hedge of protection around him.
Yeah, I definitely fear for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, you have to, these guys don't, if they feel like they're, I still can't believe he lost the last election.
He didn't.
Yeah, he didn't.
No, that's my point. So, how is he going to win this one?
I think he's already won it, to be honest with you.
I do too, but.
But no, that's a good point. What are we going to do differently this time?
Yeah.
Put people in all the voting, in all the polling centers and watch or, do away with the mail-in ballots. I mean, something's got to be different this time.
Who owns those ballot machines? Soros?
Yeah, and they use them in other countries, right?
Yeah, can it be manipulated? Like I said, I pray not. I'm 100% Trump, but I fear for things that are out of my control. As far as that's concerned, I just can pray about it. That's all I can do.
Yeah.
I actually have some encouraging news for you, sir. And we talked about this, Denise, on our last show. We were talking about the BRICS earlier. Nice way to kind of circle back to that. I don't know, you probably already know this, but to me, it was very interesting. Zimbabwe actually has installed 4 new Starlink satellites in July because they have elections coming up. They have a guy, Nelson Chamisa, who is the people's president, like here, who's also a Christian, who has already vowed to return all of their bonds and dollars, the new ZIG, which wraps them both in the gold-backed system, because we know that they have the most amount of gold in the world, bar none. They had a geologist that just found, I think a month ago or something, 6 billion tons. And it was just in one location. I showed you that, Denise, on our last show.
Right.
I don't know if you can cite her show if you want for the PowerPoint on that. Anyway, I thought, it's interesting. Why are they putting Starlink satellites? And then it dawned on me, they have elections coming up. So they're going to use Starlink to help catch that election fraud to safeguard against any malfeasance.
I like that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Elon's doing a lot out there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He just cut Tesla. He just cut a lot of that.
A lot. He's exposing things that I didn't even think were out there.
Yeah. Did you see 2,000 Mules?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we can't have that again.
No.
It was too easy. It's too easy the way they did it.
But I'm glad to hear that Elon's doing that.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of moves and counter moves going on.
Yep.
So good. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time and bringing some hope to the viewers.
Thank you, sir.
We're all about the hope. Again, you want to give the number one more time for Swiss America?
877-703-2193.
Great. Thank you, Jim. And thank you, John.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care now.